What's that? What's going on? The tree. Yeah, me too. Yeah, right.
Just like that.
What?
It's just like grandma.
Exactly.
Just ask me a time. She's proceeding to write along to a story.
Right along. Yeah. We got the paperwork. They'll tell you when you want to do it. People like to do them Friday, Saturday, evening, night, because they're busy. What's going on?
I have to talk with you about the website. I still couldn't get it to show me.
Really?
I kept trying to click on it. It might have been because I was
Shouldn't be an
just.
issue.
But
I think they're just PDFs. Can you open a PDF on your phone? I can on mine.
I don't know yet. I guess we'll find out. But I'm sure we can get it.
Yeah, because I clicked on the minutes from my computer and it worked, but it's probably because your phone.
I like the quick save.
Okay. Well, we better see up here.
Yeah.
Closer to the door. Well, that was pretty close. You just get out on
Oh, okay. Well, and I think we on the phone before. Yes. That's how I like to be. Yeah. Stay still, please. Yes.
Yeah.
Over the course of the last year.
This meeting of the Livingston City Commission is called to order. May we have roll call, please?
Chairperson Bennett.
I'm present.
Commissioner Hoagland. Here. Commissioner Freeman.
Here.
Commissioner Sandberg. Here.
We'll now have a moment of silence. Thank you very much. Ms. Wise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, we have a different agenda order this night. Tonight we are going to take up our appointment of the applicant to fill the commission seat. And I thought I would read how the process goes. The first part of the process will be an open floor for nominations. Nominations will be requested, and if there's a nomination and a second, the nomination will then be part of the process. If there is a nomination and not a second, that nomination will fail. It appears there are no more nominations from the commission. That will declare that the nomination is closed. Or as an alternative, above B, the member of the body of the commission can make a motion to close the nominations. If the motion to close nominations is seconded, it will require a 2 to 3 vote, 2/3 vote to pass. We'll then have discussion from the body of the commission and public comment, and then the vote will commence on the nominations that are motioned and seconded. If for some reason the no nominee receives 3 votes, we can then reconvene. What's the proper term? Reconsider the motion tonight by a 2/3 vote. Is that correct, Mr. Coe?
Well, you may not have the updated version of the outline that I gave you, but if there's a 2-2 vote, say there's 2 nominations and each one of those nominees gets 2 votes, what Robert's rules says is that you keep voting until somebody gets a majority.
That's right.
And that's to prevent a situation where, especially in this case, where we have 30 days to fill the seat, we don't want to have to start the entire process over and go through applications and interviews. We need to get this seat filled. So,
Correct.
like I said, the city doesn't generally use Robert's rules, but our ordinances do not provide guidance
In this
in
regard.
this situation. So what I did is I looked to Robert's rules, and then I looked to how other governing bodies have handled this type of situation. And the consensus was that if you have 2 nominees, the vote is tied, you vote until somebody gets a majority.
Okay, got it. All right, Lisa, if that's the case, I'll probably request that we randomly select the order of. It won't be the first time,
Okay.
but if we get in that position, I'll ask for a more random structure.
Okay.
All right,
That's perfect.
yeah, clarifications from the commission on that procedure?
I'll take questions.
Commissioner Hoagland?
So we could go on and on forever.
No, I think if it went on and on forever, we would just have to say, we'll start over.
Okay, all
I mean,
right. Then what-
With the fact in mind that we will then not meet the 30-day deadline that's called out in the Montana statutes. I mean, if we can't come to a decision, there's no way we can meet that 30-day deadline. But that's the vote will be in, so to speak, so
And we can't go to executive if we come to a standstill.
no. It's a public process that we need to have the discussion in front of the public, so.
Thank you.
All right, any other points of clarification from the commission? Any points of clarification from participants in the audience? Okay. All right, so the floor is now open for nominations to fill the city commission seat. Do I have any nominations?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, I nominate Quentin Schwartz.
Any nomination for Quentin Schwartz? Is there a second?
I'll second.
There's a second. Okay. Is there any other nominations from the floor? From the commission? Close nominations.
You can close nominations.
Okay, so hearing no other nominations, I am closing the nominations for the floor unless there is a motion from the commission. Is it acceptable that I close the nominations for the commission? Okay, so no further nominations. May we have roll call, please?
Chairperson Bennett?
Yes?
Commissioner Copeland? Yes.
You want to say, you want to say public comment at all? I mean, I know that there's only one choice, but.
Is there any public comment? Public comment? Public comments closed. Roll call, please.
Can we have comment?
Huh?
Can we have comment?
Yes, certainly.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to say that I was very pleased with all applicants, and it's difficult to come to a decision of who to fill the seat, but I felt really good leading the interview process, knowing that I could work and be very happy with anyone that were appointed. So I was just very pleased with the candidates that we had.
Thank you very much. I concur with that. It was a lot to think about after the committee. Sorry about that. Thank you for it.
Sure.
Is there any other commission comments? May we have roll call, please? Start from the beginning again.
Okay, Chairperson Bennett?
Yes.
Commissioner Copeland? Yes. Commissioner Friedman?
Yes.
Commissioner Sandberg?
Yes.
Motion passes. All right. So the next order of business is Mr. Quentin Schwartz. You have to come up to the front and get sworn in, so that you can get back here and get sworn out.
Raise your right hand and then repeat after me. I, Quentin Schwartz,
I, Quentin Schwartz,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support,
that I will support,
protect, and defend
protect, and defend
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Montana,
and the Constitution of the State of Montana,
and that I will discharge the duties
that I will discharge the duties
of my office as City Commissioner
as my office of City Commissioner
for the City of Livingston,
for the City of Livingston,
Park County, Montana,
Park County, Montana,
with fidelity, so help me God.
with fidelity, so help me God. Thank you, sir.
Congratulations. Who's going first?
Thank you, James.
Thank you all the candidates, Dave and Patricia, for applying and going through the whole process. We truly appreciate it. All right. So since we do have a new commissioner, we will now again have roll call, a new roll call to be put into the record.
Chairperson Bennett?
I'm present.
Commissioner Copeland? Yes. Commissioner Friedman?
Here.
Commissioner Schwartz?
Present.
Schwartz, thank you.
Can you put the T in there?
Commissioner Sandberg?
Present.
Okay. Our first order of business are consent items. Consent items are items that are placed into this particular category, usually because there's usually no discussion. They're there for the process of approving bills that the city does have, or appointments to boards, or items that normally are pretty procedural. So there's usually no discussion items discussing consent unless the commissioner requests that one of the consent items is approved. And then we'll discuss that. So is there a motion on the consent items?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, I make a motion, we approve consent items.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
So a motion by Friedman, second by Hoagland. Roll call, please.
Can I? Oh, sorry.
Oh, did you?
Want to poll?
I do not want to poll. I just want a clarification.
Okay.
The difference between approval of claims as opposed to ratifying of claims.
Go ahead,
May,
Lisa.
Mr. Chair. Ratifying of claims indicate that we have paid a claim prior to the standard approval process, either because of timeliness or some other special consideration. For these two claims that are in ratify, they're actually payroll payments to two of our teenagers who work skate night and other rec programs that I opted to pay ahead. That is really the only difference. Thank you. Thank you.
Any other points of clarification? Okay, roll call.
Chairperson Bennett,
Yes.
Commissioner Copeland,
Yes.
Commissioner Friedman,
Four.
Commissioner Schwartz,
Yes.
Commissioner Sandberg.
Yes.
Motion passes. Tonight, there are no proclamations. There are no scheduled public comments. No public hearings. There are no ordinances. There is, however, one resolution, and that is resolution number 4634, a resolution of the City Commission of the City of Livingston, Montana, authorizing the city manager to sign facilities and real property use agreement with Livingston Baseball Association. Ms. Lowy.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This resolution concerns an agreement specifically with Livingston Baseball Association. These agreements will be templated for all of the various sports organizations and other organizations that utilize city fields. And it just really gets to delineating who does what, whose responsibilities are what. There's also a hold harmless in there for the city from a liability perspective. This is the first of the many groups and organizations that we will be working with to do this, to provide continuity across all of the organizations that utilize our city fields. Thank you.
Right. Thank you very much. Is there, start off with a motion from the commission? Resolution 4634.
I make a motion to approve resolution 46.
Second.
So a motion by Hoagland, second by Friedman. Is there any commission discussion or clarification on this particular resolution?
Is there anything that prompted the change? Any event or et cetera? Or was it just a simple policy cleanup standardization?
General policy cleanup and standardization. We have a number of organizations that we work with and wanted to get everyone on the same page, so to speak, with what expectations were.
Okay, thank you.
Any other points of clarification? Questions from the commission? If there's any public comment? Public comment on our resolution to approve our agreement between Livingston Baseball Association and the City of Livingston. Okay, hearing none, will we have roll call, please?
Chairperson Bennett,
Yes.
Commissioner Copeland,
Yes.
Commissioner Friedman,
Yes.
Commissioner Schwartz,
Yes.
Commissioner Sandberg.
Yes.
Motion passes. Moving on to action items. Action item A, discuss, approve, deny city's purchase of property from Durgan LLC and request for authorization to allow city manager to sign necessary closing documents. Ms. Lowy?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This item is related to the closing, which is scheduled for February 10th. In relation to the property we know as the Durgan property, which is related to the underpass project. At this juncture, I would like to bring a couple of items to the commission's attention that have come to the attention of administration very recently with regards to the underpass project. As you know, this project has been funded by both a federal earmark in the amount of approximately $918,000, as well as mill levies in the amount of approximately $650,000. To date, through all of the preliminary engineering, environmental impact studies, engineering related to the overpass, underpass discussion, as well as other related expenses, we have expended all but roughly $150,000 of both the federal money and the levy. So the money that remains is in the levy fund. We are at this point 99% complete with the engineering for the project in its entirety. The purchase of this property is purchase of right-of-way necessary to construct the underpass. On January 21st, certain members of the leadership team had a meeting with MDT to discuss the overall status of this project. At that meeting, we were informed by MDT that there is a 10-year time limit on the federal funding. This is something that we were, prior to that meeting, unaware of. The terms of that repayment specify that if we are not fully funded for the project and ready for construction within 10 years, we are obligated to pay back the federal monies that have been expended, which total approximately the $918,000. So at this point, funding of this project is obviously dependent on grant funding or the option of the general obligation bond to the community. I believe both have been discussed at length in various settings as mechanisms for funding this project. Right now, the payback may be required in the following circumstances. We do not have the funding secured by 2021. The city decides to abandon the project in its entirety. At that point, repayment of $918,000 is required within 30 days of notice of closing the project. If the city decides to proceed with an alternative plan, such as a crossing or an overpass, we are required to pay back those federal funds because the federal funds have specifically designated an underpass. Extensions of this guideline, of this deadline, are possible, but I cannot guarantee with any assurity that we would be granted an extension if we asked. I feel it's important that everyone know these facts, so we have the background of the project in its entirety. At this point, it is still the administration's recommendation to move forward with this purchase in light of several factors. The purchase of the property further demonstrates our local commitment to this project and our commitment to bringing it forward to completion. We also will end up with a tangible asset out of this purchase that should, for some reason, the underpass not reach conclusion or reality. We have a tangible asset that we have the ability to either sell, develop ourselves, rent, or utilize as a city asset for housing a city department or something of that nature. Regardless of the timing, this right-of-way is a requirement to do the underpass. So if we do not move forward with purchasing and that property is developed, all that does is escalate our costs because this is the only property that meets the need of the underpass. And it is also the only location feasible for the underpass. So at this point, again, for those reasons, it is the administration's recommendation that we move forward with the prior commitments we have made to purchase this property. And then begin looking at aggressive ways to meet the remaining 5 years of that deadline. Questions? After that mouthful.
Commissioner Holden?
You said, so we abandon the project and have to pay back. Did you say the 918 or did you say 913?
It's approximately 918. It's a little over that, but 918.
I thought there was a $5,000 difference in that I did catch. So, okay. And if we need an extension, do you have any information on that?
We have the option of attempting to file for an extension and asking for one. Again, there is no guarantee whether that would be granted. failure to meet the funding requirement is not eligible for an extension. One of the things that would potentially grant us an extension is when public involvement in a process has either delayed or prolonged that process. So we did lose some time with regards to the overpass, underpass discussion. That may be an avenue for having an extension granted, but again, there are no guarantees that we would be granted one.
One last question. Sure. Thank you. The funding has to be completed by that time for the project.
The funding has to be secured in its entirety. And at this point, that is approximately $8.5 million. That is inclusive of infrastructure, relocates for utilities, as well as the overall construction of the project and updating of the environmental impact studies, which would need to be updated at this point. Thank you.
Before, can I have one further clarification? Is it my understanding that we have to pay back the mill levy as well?
My understanding is we would have to pay back any unexpended funds within the mill levy.
Unexpected.
Correct.
So is it that this issue of paying the funds back just came to light recently? And my question would be, why was this not disclosed and discussed at the time 5 years ago when we secured the funding?
The conversation with NDT and the leadership team as it currently stands occurred on January 21st of this year. I cannot speak to prior administration.
But I would clearly state then if they're saying they have to pay it back, there's something in the information that we signed to get that grant that stated these type of disclosures as far as faulting
My
to pay back the
review of
funds.
all of the documentation that is both housed here as well as the complete file from the engineers has not provided any documentation that specified a 10-year time limit.
And so then how is that, Mr. Code, that they can make that declaration at this point?
So there are really two relationships going on here. The state MDT is receiving funds from the federal government. The Code of Federal Regulations and the United States Code say, state, if you're going to take this money and divvy it up within your state to certain projects, you're required to repay that money to the federal government within 10 years. That deadline is set forth in the CFR and in the United States Code. Then there's a second relationship that the city of Livingston has with MDT, and we have an agreement with them that says if we abandon the project or we terminate our agreement with MDT to go forward with the project, we will be responsible for paying back the funds expended. Now, the contract between MDT and the city of Livingston, I don't see that there's a 10-year time period in there. It's not called out in the contract, but MDT is convinced, and they've told us, you have 10 years. But our review of the documentation, the stuff that's been approved by the city commission, doesn't show that 10-year time window. And I can't really speak to this, but I think Lisa has requested from MDT, can you show me a specific document where the city has agreed to repay these funds in 10 years? And each time they just send us the CFR and the United States Code. So that's where we're at. What we know is that MDT is expecting us to repay the funds in 10 years unless we get an extension if the project doesn't come to fruition.
So how do we get a clarification on that?
That's a good question because, like I said, none of the documents we have say 10 years. None of the documents that we've signed, or the commission and the city manager have signed with MDT say 10 years. But, MDT did indicate to us that they're in this boat with us and they're going to do what they can to help the city out because they want to see the project move to completion. So I think at the end of the day, unfortunately, clarification on the 10-year issue, I hope it doesn't end up in court, but to me, it doesn't seem like we're bound. None of the documents I've seen say that we're bound to repay in 10 years. But I think we should plan for that contingency. And we should act as if that deadline is there.
Well, I'm just one voice in the commission, but I would like to see, I think it's important that we continue the clarification, because there's a lot of moving parts in this project. One of them being, I think a couple months ago, when the commission voted to go into the agreement to buy the Durgan property. As the community member, I specifically asked if there had been any communications with the adjacent property owner that you would need a construction easement with. And all of the commissioners informed me that there had been no communication with the adjacent property owner. Yet I have a letter that was written by the adjacent property owner addressed to the commission from March of 2014 stating that they will not give you that construction easement. So it bothers me a little bit that that information was not shared when I asked the question a couple months ago. But moving forward, again, another moving part, you're taking again the risk of public money again into a project that you have no guaranteed funding, no guarantee that you know that's going to happen, and investing in a piece of property that, yes, it may be tangible. Is it a fair market value? I'm not sure. Can you sell it for what you purchased it for? I'm not sure. I just don't think that the city commission is in the role of speculating on real estate. And I think until the commission has their ducks in a row to understand and a communication to all parties that would be involved in this, we shouldn't be expending public money on speculation.
Now, point of clarification. Which letter are you referring to? Are you referring to Mr. Boyce's letter?
Yeah, from, Dan Voyage. That was written to the commission on March 14, 2014.
I think we had some discussion about that at a previous commission. You weren't city attorney, and you weren't city manager. That's in reference to they wouldn't sell a construction easement or provide
They wouldn't provide. They
provide
don't.
a construction easement for the city that they develop an underpass.
Correct. You cannot use their property. To me, I think that's a vital component. If that's where you're going to place an overpass or an underpass.
I think at the time, and correct me if I'm wrong, I just want to address this because I think that's an important point. I think at the time we did have that discussion with the city commission, and any commissioner who was there at the time, please chime in if you remember this, is that that the city did have some negotiations in process with Mr. Voyage. And the other thing is that there wasn't any permanent use of the land. It was a construction easement. And my understanding was that, and Eric, correct me if I'm wrong on this point, this is a legal point, that we could use, if we had to, we could do some legal, what's the right word? I don't want to say taking. But
The power of eminent domain.
power of eminent domain for the use of a construction easement. So those are some of the things that were.
I understand the letter addresses that you would be in litigation if you tried to do that. And personally, as a commissioner, I don't think that that's an appropriate neighborly community involvement way to do business is to claim eminent domain.
I'm just providing information so you know what did transpire.
I understand that, and I'm just providing my opinion of why I don't think eminent domain is, and the letter does address it, stating that the city will be in litigation.
Is there any further commission discussion? No other commission discussion comments? On the information provided by the city manager and about the discussion item A, which we're on, closing for this property. I think also we need to, Mr. Coe, I think we need to inform the commission if we decide not to move on this property, what is our liability?
So the way the contract is written, there's a provision that says if the city does not close on the property, fails to close on the property, the seller will keep the city's deposit, which in this case is $2,500.
So if no other commissioner has comments, I would like to hear some public comment. I do have comments myself, but public comment be fine. If you have public comment, please come up, state your name and address for the record, sign in, and provide your public comment.
My name is Steve Coates, 1007 Eagle Court.
Are you being picked up? Can you tap the microphone? Can you hear him in back?
Testing 1, 2.
Okay.
Okay. My name is Steve Coates, 1007 Eagle Court. And I do have a question as well as a comment. But I think you mentioned the only piece of real estate required would be the one that you're talking about here tonight. And then the Voight property, you indicated that was more of a construction easement, indicating maybe the passage of heavy machinery or something like that. And there is significant construction on their property, according to the drawings, of a drain system which would be permanently installed on their property that would tie in the Fleshman Creek. And there would be some concrete structures that would change the character of that particular piece of property. And that's their objection. And so that would be my concern, is that we clearly define what a construction easement is. It's nothing temporary. It's a permanent actual part of the construction project itself. Thank you.
All right.
Shall I sign this here?
Please.
Shannon, can you answer that for us?
So, yes, there is a storm drain. The storm drain inlet in the underpass does go through the Voyage property and empties into Fleshman Creek. I'm not sure exactly if that was fully designed in 2014. So I'd have to look back at my notes and see where we were at with the design process. But a construction easement, certainly for doing Highway 10 and getting the grades to match the underpass grade, would require equipment use on their property, but it would not be disturbed. It would be put back into the same condition it was found prior to construction. So I can't imagine Dow and MDT going to the length of designing the storm drain without some communication with the Voyages and making sure that that was a viable design option for draining the underpass. So again, I would be happy to look back and talk with our design engineer, Tony Beccagatto, Phil Odegaard, and MDT and provide more clarification on that at a later date.
Further public comment?
Dan Durgan, 419 South Yellowstone Street. I just wanted to, I guess I know the commission's aware of this, but we do have a contract, a legally binding contract that you wrote up, your attorney did, and all the contingencies have been met. So, yes, the consequences of breaking that contract are small, 2,500. I mean, that's the fiscal consequences, but I think there's greater consequences in that it's a legally binding contract. So I don't think it's legal for you to break that contract. So your fine is small, but you're still taking an act that's not appropriate by breaking that. If you want it out of the contract, I think your appropriate path would be to come to me and say, Mr. Durgan, we got more information, or these things we've learned. Would you like to release us from the contract? We can mutually agree to dissolve the contract, and that would be a legal option. Or you could fulfill the contract if you don't want the property, sell it. But it's kind of late to sign a contract with me and then just back out because you don't want to anymore. You don't have that contingency written into the contract. You had contingencies for financing and contingencies for appraisals and those things. So I would just question what that would do for the image of the city of Livingston and for the reputation for, if you do want to build an underpass and you bring me another contract that you want me to sign, how I would feel about that as well.
Could you sign it? Yeah, take it and go ahead and sign
I
it.
did sign it.
Oh, you did? Okay, great.
Multi-gas.
Mr. Coates, you want to address the legal ramifications that he's talking about?
Yes, if we didn't close on the property, we wouldn't be going through with the contract. That is correct. But there is a provision in the contract that contemplates that happening. The penalty is $2,500.
Is there anything else? Can we be sued for that?
Well, I mean, we can be sued for just about anything, but I think that the contract is written in compliance with the law. And I think the penalty is $2,500.
Any other points of clarification from the commission? Maxine, if you want to go first?
Yeah.
Okay. I think everyone, this information that's been provided to us tonight is a little bit of a stunning for this commission as well as administration. The idea of a payback within 10 years if we do not find funding, that is something that I've been on the commission for 6 years. I never remember hearing that once whatsoever. The city attorney has reviewed the initial memorandum. There was no 10-year limitation or stipulation. The one question I came up with, MDOT is referencing a federal code book called CFR. Was there any mention of CFR in our contract?
No, there was not.
This puts this commission in a very difficult situation as far as looking at this project. A number of things have changed in this project since we began this project. One major thing that's changed since we started this project was when this project was started, the commission moved forward with this project, put it on the ballot, and the voters voted for it to be moved forward based on the information that this was the federal monies were a legislative process, and we had some ability to go to our federal legislators and discuss our project and have them put it on their docket for funding. That process changed. I don't remember how long ago that changed. It was a number of years ago, 2 or 3 years ago. 2011, that process changed, which meant that now this is an administrative prerogative. This goes through the executive branch of the federal government. And not many of us have any first name basis with the president. So that makes it difficult for us. And our avenue for attaining that grant is called Tiger Grant. And we have applied for that. And we will continue to apply for that. But again, we have no guarantee that we will get that grant. So, this puts the decision making in a whole different light for this project. Do we keep moving forward with the hope that we will get a grant? I mean, I think that's what we've the past couple of years, I think that's how we've approached this. There's not much alternative. Do you concur with that? Other commissioners have been on?
Can I ask you a question? When did the clock start running on this 10-year?
5 years ago?
5 years remaining.
5 years remaining. So, as far as the administration knows, the only two alternatives we have are a general obligation bond. And that has to go before the voters, or Tiger grant. That is the process we have been going through.
Or other grant funding that we're able to secure should it become available through either state infrastructure development programs or other federal infrastructure development programs. But again, it's a matter of seeking that out and seeing what this project would fit into for those types of requirements. But those are the mechanisms at this point, yes.
I just want to reiterate that a payback would be a payback of any unused funds from the mill levy. Only unused. We don't have to pay back the whole mill levy. I want to clarify that.
That's my understanding, yes.
Okay. But the full amount of the federal funds that have been distributed to the state on this project.
Correct.
Okay. But not the state funds that we set aside for our projects. Those could be used in a different project.
They could be, yes. They are there's currently approximately, I believe, 1.9 million in an urban fund that is set aside. Right now, it is set aside and designated for the underpass. Those funds, there is a possibility through seeking a waiver. Again, there is no guarantee that those funds could be utilized to repay the $918,000. But that would have to go through a waiver process that, again, there's no guarantee of. But otherwise, if that was not the case, that full 1.9 million would be available for other investment within other infrastructure programs that met that criteria.
Great. So just to clarify again, so that we all have it straight, the triggers for a payback would be by the sunset date, not having the funds available. If we decided to abandon the project for any particular reason, or if we decided to abandon the project in lieu of an alternative project, those would all be triggers for payback.
Correct.
And the positives for continuing with this purchase would be we do have a commitment. We would have a tangible asset. We do need the right of way if we do actually move forward with the underpass. So those are the positives. Did I miss anything there?
No, you did not.
The only other thing I wanted to comment on is that the process we're going through is a very public process. If you are an individual and you are working with a real estate broker or with a buyer or a seller for property, you'd have a lot more personal interaction. We don't have that luxury here. We do everything in the public. We don't sit as 5 members behind a closed door and work with the realtor or a private seller. And so every time we see something, it's at a public meeting. Every time we review something, we have 3 to 4 days to review it and to bring ourselves up to speed on the new material and review this. This is a very different process than you go through buying any portion of real estate. So the only other thing that I would like to comment on is the appraisal. And just, you want,
All of us have a moment to discuss this first.
you want, yeah, absolutely.
Then before we want to the appraisal.
Sure, no
Would that be
problem.
okay? One of the biggest thing that I have discussed since coming on the commission is this overpass, underpass discussion of which one is better. And I personally have gotten to the point of making a decision based on my information or from the information that I've received, and feel that we need to move forward with the underpass, which I've been clear about. I think all the commission as a whole has been clear about that with different discussions and votes. I think one of my frustrations is we spent a year and a half talking about overpass, underpass after, even when we knew that we had to move forward with the underpass. We knew this a long time ago, I did, that we had to move forward with an underpass because that was what the project was called, engineered for, and everything. I think, I mean, in a year and a half, I feel like I've spent a lot of time on this, and I think we need to move forward. I think we need to, as a commission and as a city, we need to pursue this a lot more aggressively. I don't feel like it has been pursued aggressively in the past 2 years that I've been on the commission. I can't talk for what happened beforehand because I wasn't on the commission. But I feel like it's time we move it forward. We have 5 years. I believe we can get it done. I believe in the project for the people and for the north side and for what they need and they want. And I think no matter where it goes, this property, which is a whole other issue to add to it, this property will be a value to our city no matter what. I do believe that. How we use it, well, what I want it to be used for is an underpass. And if for some reason it doesn't go to that, I don't think it's going to be a waste of money. I believe we'll use it in a thoughtful way for our community, even if it's a city park or a part of a trail system or part of a public works building that would help to add services to the north side. I think there's many things that we could do with this property, and its location in particular is very good. So, like I said, I feel like we need to be aggressive about our funding for this project and keep it moving, and maybe this will be the impetus for that. That's all.
Mr. Freeman?
Yeah, I asked a question a long time ago to George Denton and Steve, whether it's an underpass or an overpass. We had the underpass well into the design of it. Where's the money come for the overpass? I mean, it's nice to think that we wanted an overpass, but my first question is, where's the money? I never got an answer on that. So I concur with Darrell on this, that underpass was passed a long time ago, and we've had people that were in the original meetings. That's it. Based on what happened now, this is a kind of hits us from the broad side, but one of the few assets we got is the building out of this whole thing. So I understand your point. But I think we really, where we are right now, we just got to get cooking. Now we know that the Tiger Grant this year is going to go on early. So that's a good one. And we just pursue every avenue we can go. Maybe after the 5 years, we get a forgiveness possibility too. So, but I think, yes, I think we're into this knee deep, and we just got to go. We have to go forward. I think Shannon would be good if we got that other piece of information on that. That would be helpful. But we're aware at the moment. I just don't see, because if we change the other part, if we change direction and go over it, we start with a tremendous amount of expense all over again. So that just never hit my brain very well. So yeah, the new underpass. There's been many comments in the paper from people. The new underpass is not going to be like the old underpass. We hope, and there's learned so much more about this. So I think where we are at the moment, we do go forward.
I do have one more question. Shannon or Lisa, could you try to find out in your research back to Sarah's concern about the voyages and their construction easement feedback or statements they made, you know, how many years ago, whatever years ago when we first started the process. So 5 years ago. So I have a hard time believing that the state didn't address that at the time, and or the engineering studies. And the first time I heard about the construction easement disagreement, like Sarah's referring to, was when the overpass fight came to the table, which it hadn't been a fight when I wasn't on the commission. I had never heard of anything. I never read the paper. I follow everything in the city. For years I've done it. And I hadn't heard one disagreement about wanting an overpass before I came on the commission. So I want to make sure that we go back a few steps to see what was happening before then, as far as the construction easement in particular. If we could somehow answer it for me even, or for the community.
It's certainly, Mr. Holmes and I can go through the documentation that both of us have and provide you with that.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Yes, Commissioner Sandberg.
Yeah, I guess just my closing remarks are, I don't really think there's a discussion of an overpass or underpass being discussed here tonight. What's being discussed is the lack of information provided to the commission in making this decision, and not communicating with all the parties involved and having a definitive plan to move forward. And we're piecemealing this thing together, hoping everybody's going to do the right thing. And how much further do we want to piecemeal it without us having all the players involved moving forward? I'm very concerned if this doesn't happen. I mean, the city's going to go after a new water treatment plant, and then you're going to go after them for an underpass. That's a lot of money for this community. Not sure you're going to get those two things passed close to the same time. I'm not sure if we thought about that. You know, if we had to pay those funds back for, you know, lack of funding probably being the main concern, where's that going to come from? And I would question if you would have to give back the mill levy as well, considering the mill levy was tied to that grant. You would probably, I would guess, when you look into that, have to give back the mill levy funds as well. So this has nothing to do with Mr. Durgan or I'm just baffled by the chain of events of how all of this is coming to a head and the lack of information that seems to have been provided to the commission to make a sound decision moving forward.
Public comment?
Patricia Gravo, 204 East Calendar Street. I find it remarkable that at the point in which the debate was whether or not we have an overpass and an underpass, that the city manager, if in fact he knew this, wouldn't use the argument that if we don't go with the underpass, we're going to have to pay back the $900 and so many dollars. That never I've been attending city commission meetings. I never heard that once during that debate, overpass versus underpass. So I find it remarkable. I think it's a benefit to our community to find out, did that information exist somewhere? Because it seems like it would have been utilized, number one. Number two, I have always known since day one that Voyage would not allow for any kind of movement on his property. In fact, they have said, I'm an attorney, I'll take it to the Supreme Court. If they go to eminent domain, then that there is a lawsuit that I will not give up on. So that's always been there. This is not an argument for or against the underpass. It's just that is something that has always loomed in the background and I think was largely ignored. I know that when the overpass people were doing their presentation, they presented Mr. Voich's letter to the commission. I think you all recall that, in which he said, yes, I will take this to a court of law. I will not allow this. So, but what is such a surprise is this, that nobody knew that this $900 and some would have to be paid back. I find that remarkable. And I find it remarkable that it was never used during that period of discussion on overpass versus underpass. I think it's valuable to look into that and clarify further.
James, just a quick clarification. Yes. Is it possible to get a legal determination on the claim from the state? How do we go about getting a legal determination of whether their claim is valid or not?
We would have to work with MDT's attorneys. And again, this is something that has come up within the last 10 days. So we're working through that with MDT, and I have very open lines of communication with the folks at MDT to resolve this. So that's clearly the next step in clarifying. Everything they have provided thus far says it's the 10 years.
Okay, thank you.
I do recall having conversations, and I could probably get it out of my agendas that I make a lot of notes, but I know we've had conversations where we talked about what would happen if we switch gears and move to an overpass and the consequence of that. And I know that was in the past year. And the consequence being, part of it being that if we switch gears, you would have to pay that. I do recall that. And I obviously can't remember which meeting it was at, but it has been a part of our conversation. Am I the only one who remembers that?
No, I recall the meeting as well. I don't remember which one specifically.
And that would make sense, because the MOU that the city commission approved with MDT did say that if the city abandoned the project, there would be repayment. I think that what takes the city by surprise is the 10 years. We weren't aware of that until we met with MDT the 21st.
And from what I remember, the city commission twice voted to continue with the underpass. So even though we did have discussions and heated discussions regarding that, the city commission as a whole did vote to keep moving the underpass forward. So anyone else have comments? Kind of pick up where I left off. I was going into the appraisal. Usually when you have, you receive an appraisal on a property you're looking at purchasing, you have some time to really review it. In this case, I wouldn't say that we've had a lot of time to review the appraisal, just because of the nature of the way we operate as a city commission. It is a multi-page document. I'm just going to tell you how many pages it is here briefly. Yeah, I know it's quite a few. And I just finished reading it this afternoon. And please don't criticize me. I just didn't have a lot of time this weekend to do it. It's probably 30. It's 117 pages to review. Big document. Granted, a lot of the information is explanations, not so much the review of the appraisal itself. But the appraisal goes through different valuations. Ultimately, to make it simple, they went through a cost market approach, sales market approach, and income market approach. And upon review and finishing really looking at this, you know, I really do question a couple of the approaches here. I question the, I'm talking to the commission and to anyone who's interested in this discussion. The sales approach I find is flawed because all the properties that are compared with it on page, find it again, page 116 of the agenda packet, they're all on highway commercial, where the property that's being compared to is in a commercial setting, commercial zoning, but with smack dab in a residential area. So I find that I find that that's not a really fair comparison. I find that flawed in comparing this with the property we're looking at. And then I found that there was flaws from the income approach, because they provided a pro forma type of approach to income, which is not really actual. Meaning there's no actual information there. It's just all guesswork. So even though it's nice guesswork, and it's presented really nicely, I find that both of those methods are flawed. The only one that had some value to it was the cost approach, which really doesn't help us that much, because what we're interested in is a right-of-way. And even though there's a building on it, we intend to tear it down at some point when we utilize that right-of-way. So, you know, having just, you know, finished the review today, I find that those are things that kind of stick out to me. And then the other aspect that sticks out to me, just as a commissioner, and we are in a public setting, and unfortunately everything we say is public, everything we do is public. So now this appraisal report, this 120-page appraisal report, is public as well. I have no problem with anyone making a profit. Knew that there was going to be a profit on this property, but I'm not sure if I'm okay with the fact that it's a 100% profit. I'm not sure if this, you know, gets into healthy profit or a little beyond that. I would like the opinion of the commission themselves as well, because I want to hear what you guys have to say about that. We did agree to this. We do have a contract. We will honor this contract. At the same time, I'm a little concerned that when we first got this property to evaluate, it was $480,000 after 2 months of having the property.
I'm sorry, what did you just say?
When we first got our offer, it was $480,000 to buy this property. After 2 months of the owner having the property, after buying it at 127.
So how did you come to the 250?
We negotiated through the city manager, got down to 250.
Oh, okay.
And I just want to hear what the commission has to say about that.
It's capitalism at work. I mean, we negotiated a price kind of regardless of what that person paid for it. I mean, that's the art of business.
Okay. Just wanted to hear what you have to say.
I do have a question in regards, I did look at some of the same things you did, James, and I felt a lot of the information in the appraisal was outdated. A lot of it pertained to Yellowstone Park, a lot of it pertained to Gallatin County. You know, I guess it was worth its price and weight. I'm not sure how much relative information we received, but the overall question then is there a reason why we chose to use an appraiser from Bozeman as opposed to somebody local?
It was based on availability and list of appraisers that was provided by our bank. This particular individual was well regarded and also available to complete this within the time frame that we needed.
And I will say it's a unique property, there's no doubt about it. You know, it's a standalone, but the thing that we're more concerned with is the land. And without it, we cannot do the underpass.
Was there any conversation regarding having a right of way and having it be an impetus for funding or a reflection upon the community as impetus for funding? Meaning, having gone forward with purchasing the right of way, does it reflect positively in having in our grants or any funding process that we keep the project moving forward?
Yes, I believe it provides a favorable overall review of our commitment to this project by continuing to forge ahead and purchase the required right of way, both for any grant applications that we may make, as well as if we get into a position where we're seeking an extension of that deadline. I believe that it shows our commitment to this project as a whole.
Okay. We've had discussion. Is there any other information people want to discuss? Or is there a motion that the commission would like to make?
I just have one question. What was the exact size of the lot? Do you remember? Does anyone have that? Just give me the exact numbers. I know it's in here
Square
too.
footage?
Yeah, or the acreage or quarter
I think
acre,
it's 0.492 from my memory,
almost a
so
half.
it's almost a half an acre. And can I say something?
Absolutely.
We're doing our best to provide you the information that we can, as much as we can. Right now, it's like drinking from a fire hose because none of us were involved in this project until 2 or 3 months ago. So if you do have any questions, feel free to ask them, but we're not trying to hide information. We're giving you the information that we have as we get it and as we discover it. So I just want to make that clear that we're not making any effort to fail to disclose items to you.
Thank you very much. Is there a motion from the commission? Or is there any other further comments, or is it before we can also have discussion if there's a motion? Maybe a little hard to find the subject here, Quentin, for the first meeting, didn't we? Won't be,
What's the closing date?
the 10th. We'll be shy about questions because I think there's a lot of new information tonight that is going to come to light. Not because it was hidden before, but because we're just finding out.
That takes you to the next Tuesday, wait, days.
Yeah, Tuesday, Wednesday. Is, do we want to, there is no motion. Right at the moment, we've had discussion. Is there any action that anyone would like the commission to consider? Mr. Coe.
And just to clarify, what we need here from the commission is the authority for the city manager to close the transaction with Mr. Durgan, or Durgan's LLC. So that's what we would need to go through with the closing on February 10th.
So that's that.
Yeah, public comment, sure.
Dan Durgan, 419 South Yellowstone. So I guess my question is, kind of word this appropriately, but just because the law requires you to fulfill this contract. I mean, not fulfilling this contract is illegal. Am I wrong about that?
Well, we would
Well, we
fulfill
pay
the
a
contract.
penalty if we don't.
Yeah, we'll fulfill the contract, but the contract is either signing the contract and closing or paying the penalty.
So you see the penalty as just another avenue of fulfilling the contract as far as a fine for breaking the contract.
I believe that's the legal aspects. Am I misunderstanding that?
There are provisions in the contract that require us to go through with closing. If we don't go through with closing, we pay a penalty of $2,500.
And that penalty's in there because if you breach the contract and we end up in court, the judge can look at the contract and say, well, it's as much as I can award Mr. Durgan is $2,500. Which when I read the contract and I showed it to my advisors, they all said, you might not be able to trust a politician when he says something, but when they give it to you in writing and sign the bottom, you should be able to trust the city of Livingston to fulfill a contract that they signed. You shouldn't have to worry about the penalty for them not fulfilling it because we trust our city of Livingston to do that. So I guess I just ask you to consider how that is for the city to act that way, or to. It just seems so much more prudent to me to. If you didn't want to follow through with this, to at least come to me.
We can't come to you. We can't, as we make this decision as a body. The only way we can make a decision is in a public setting as we are right now. We can't individually come to you and negotiate with you on behalf of the commission. And we can't have a private meeting with you because everything we do is open to the public. We cannot do that. That's why I brought that up earlier. This whole process is a different real estate transaction because we have to vote as a body, discuss as a body, be in front of the community as a body, and not hide anything behind closed doors. The only time we can is for legal litigation because of the privacy and for the matters of legality. But none of us can come to you and individually negotiate. I think you probably saw the process we had to go through. There was no time except when you're dealing directly with the city manager and we're trying to negotiate a price several months ago. But once it became before the commission always had to meet in front of the public, hear public comment, and make a decision as a body. Make a motion, have discussion, make a decision, and majority vote would always carry the day. But none of us individually can negotiate with you.
I appreciate that clarification.
Yeah.
And the only thing that I see that's changed since we signed this contract is now you feel more responsible for the $1 million you spent on the property because you might have to take it out of our pockets. it doesn't change the fact that that's still, I mean, I don't care if it's federal, state, local dollars, that was my tax dollars was spent on this property, and we were responsible when we spend $1 million on a project to follow it through. But all of a sudden, because the federal government says you might be really responsible, that's the only thing that's changed in my, you know, you feel more of that weight of that money. But that's always been there.
No, I think the commission has felt the weight. I think the real key that's changed is the limitation of when that project needs to be finished. That's the real key. That's what this commission just found out this week or tonight. And that's what the administration found out within the last week or two. And that's where, you know, we've had to, the administration spent a lot of time trying to figure out what are the exact details in which we're operating under now, because this changes the urgency in the minds of every commissioner, and it also changes the time frame, and it changes every aspect of how we decide on this project at this point.
Yeah, good, that makes sense.
Yeah.
One more quick, just to address your evaluation. Don't forget that Darren Rainey also evaluated the property as a local real estate agent. He should have been aware of the sale price because his office had it listed for a couple of years at 150 or something. So he knew I paid less than that. And I never kept 127. I told anybody who asked, and I offered it to plenty of people because I didn't want to hide any. I'm not ashamed of that profit. I think you shouldn't feel like you're getting gouged. The Bank of Rockies got gouged. And I told them I wouldn't pay more than 125, and they said 127, and I kicked and screamed at that anyway. So you know, that's the way negotiation works. And it was, you know, the appraiser knew that. He still appraised at 250. Darren Rainey appraised it at that. I think you can feel comfortable that. To say, I mean, the facts in front of you all say 250 is a fair price. So
They may say that 250 looks like a fair price, but I don't agree with all the appraisal either in the way they came about it.
I've never liked an appraisal.
And, I find that a pro forma appraisal is just fluffy guesswork. And that's what most of them do, and that's fine. There were 3 different appraisal formulas. I thought the only one that had value was the replacement value appraisal. I thought that was good. But the sales and the market value, I felt weren't that appropriate. If this was my deal and I had to look at this appraisal, I'd feel very uncomfortable personally about the appraisal. And the moral obligation that we all have is to the taxpayer. You know, and the taxpayer is the one that we have to answer to. If we make a wrong decision, I hear about it the next day, probably for a couple of weeks. But I get calls and emails. So the taxpayer is the one who's really paying for this, not me or any of the other commissioners, this particular property. And so we have to feel very confident that we're making the right decision for the taxpayer. So I think that's, you know, that's just the other aspect of it as well.
Thank you for the.
You're very welcome. Thank you.
Appreciate it, yeah.
So do we have no motion on the floor?
We have no motion so far.
Do we,
Is there anyone want to think outside the box here at all? I mean, is there any?
well, I would like to understand from 2 commissioners who really want to see this project moving forward, what their hesitation is in approving the moving forward then.
Yeah.
Commissioner Friedman.
If we were just dealing with this tonight, without any other discussion, we probably would have passed. So something got in its way, but that, we have to be careful that doesn't get in the way of costing us money on the other side anyway, but not going through the deal. So there's kind of a couple of separate issues here. We were all in on this many weeks ago. And we've gone this far with it, but then all of a sudden, it's like an avalanche, you know, we get covered over with a bunch of snow, but, I think we just have to look at the resolution to make any sense of it. As we're going around the barn, so many different subjects, but I think we just, if we deal with that, so. As I spoke in the beginning before, any other information, it was an asset that we would end up with, so. That's not the worst thing that we're facing at the moment, so. My thing is to go ahead with it.
Good question, Sarah. I stated before that I see this as an asset and as a valuable piece of property for the community. I do think it's overpriced. I'm going to say it out loud. And looking at the information we received tonight with that, yeah, they agreed that it was around $250, but I still feel like we're overpaying a little bit. And that bugs me. And it bugs me that we were asked that much, so I'm just saying that out loud. I still do value this piece of property, and I do think that part of our process to get this overpass done is that we do have to take baby steps sometimes to get to the big picture, or to the big project at the end. And this is just one of the baby steps. And I think it is important that we move forward with this and then continue to move forward way more aggressively with the other, which I've said this before. I'm so restating it again. Yeah, I have no problem making the motion. It's just I wanted to make sure everyone had their questions answered.
Thank you.
One thing before you make the motion. I'm wondering out loud, so everyone can hear. And this may be, we have to do everything in public forum. I wouldn't say this to a seller in a public setting ever. Given the light of everything we've come across tonight, not so much what we learned about the 10-year limitation, but having a real thorough look at the evaluation and the assessment, if the seller would consider renegotiating the selling price with the commission. And if so, would the seller be willing to postpone a closing with that renegotiation in mind? And what we can do at this point, since we're struggling with this decision, I think maybe if we took a 10-minute recess till 8 o'clock and gave this some thought, took a restroom break, I thought maybe that would give us a little bit of breathing room to gather our thoughts. Does anyone have any objection to that? No. Okay, so we're going to take a 10-minute recess. 15, we'll come back at 8:05.
Well, I asked the people around
My village. I don't know how warm that faucet gets, but it's.
I want to hear that word again, that was
That's what I want. I live on the north side.
Would you go into the first
I would use anything.
Okay,
My
that's right.
property
I just wanted to
is for sale. Look, I'm for sale, but why do you want to spend your time? See, I have the money.
Why did the
Yeah.
commission go to the legislature in the last legislative session? Spend the money for that.
I know.
Why did the quite information.
Thing, right?
To bring back the legislature as an addendum to some bill and get it paid for.
There's a woman in the area.
Well, I kind of question it, but it seems like there's a couple of avenues, and one of which is legislative. Yeah, you got numbers. There's a website.
You don't know. You don't even know.
You do have a negotiating. Yes, I remember. Well, you know, I go back.
With the metabolism, 4,000 calories a day. That's
Never push them on that day. Yes, I think people just train, starting with the meal, and then having to stop for traffic. You know, it's another half a mile on the road. And say, we're gonna use that classic.
Yeah.
Really?
Give her $1.
You're welcome.
That's a, I would try to get together with my neighbors. He told me about the long time. He said, yeah, I do.
Community, money. Yeah.
I know that was that
Why make more?
I can't go off over but as far as this, I just.
Oh, yes.
And she's gonna retrace up there, and I'm just gonna look and see if there's, that's why I'm just kind of, because that happened. And I lost a few things to my mother, and my mother had passed away, and I found it twice. Yeah. Oh. So it's like, okay, if I found my mom's twice. And you know, because I was.
Oh, absolutely.
Like they can bounce muscle things.
Wait, that's a surprise.
Yeah, one shop, yeah.
Yeah,
shovel ready project. Yeah. You gotta look at the upside. Shovel ready project.
I found that hole in my.
Yeah. I swear by it. No, I was looking at the good side.
I'm not in the quorum.
That's fun. I suppose I took a camp who's been teasing right away.
I wrote to the cans, which I wanted more than plastic anyway, so there's.
Well, it's good because, you know, more you want to bounce thoughts off of people.
Well, and I'm gonna disagree with you. We have the right to discuss things on this basis. It's our right. We're not making decisions. It's like our right to, if we're at the same place. If we're making this.
The three of you anywhere is a quorum.
No, it's not. That's not true. That's not true. We have the
Well,
right
it's
to.
perceived as a forum, but not necessarily if we're not discussing, we're discussing the weather, but
Small
yeah,
town.
it's perceived.
And we all live in the same place. Celebrating the same
Yeah, I know.
thing. It's and just because we're standing together, talking about the rodeo, doesn't make it.
I was like,
Of course, no one knows what's going on. Well, then come up and listen. Well, and talk to Eric, and he's the one that, we love the right, that's true, it's constitutional as well. That we have the right to freedom of speech and to talk to each other. Yeah.
I do like that part.
We'll find something that
Oh, please do.
I'm thinking more of one of those.
You still kept like.
But no, if we're standing, near each other talking about
Something totally unrelated?
or when people are talking about something and I'm standing nearby, doesn't make it important.
I would say there's always discussing, back to that statute that says something to the effect of you're discussing or considering something under your jurisdiction.
Right. But we can be in the same space.
I'll find it right there. Oh, you can be in the same space.
And. Thank you. Yeah.
I guess I assumed that.
Yes.
Before my time, it was like, it's tea, very cheap.
These are still recording.
how much was it?
We're back in session, and we are discussing action item A, city's purchase of property from Durgan's LLC and request for authorization to allow city manager to sign necessary closing documents. City Commission, you're on.
Did you have something? Finishing.
No, I don't have anything else. Mr. Durgan, if you have any thoughts that you would like to convey, I offered just a suggestion. If there's no response from you, that's fine.
I'm fine to respond to that if you'd like.
Sure. Sorry, we have to negotiate or talk about these things in public, but that's our rules.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. Thank you. Dan Durgan for 19 South Yellow Street. Yeah, no, I think I've bought and sold enough lots in the north side, and I have a good feel for the north side of town. And I see it growing very fast. Ridgeview Trails is about full. It's going to be pretty quick. They're building out toward Discovery Vista. And I understand this property, there's not a lot of commercial properties serving all those homes. There's a lot of businessmen I know that I've talked to before. When this all started out, I was under the impression of most of the town that we talked about an underpass forever and we'll talk about it forever. So I said, let's make good use of that property. I was going to build on it. I came and talked to Ed, and I thought, I shouldn't build until I talk to Ed and see if he'd rather have the property. Give him that option. But I know insurance agents, therapists, accountants, all kinds of small businesses like that would do very well on that side of town, it feels like a long ways to drive from Northern Lights to anywhere else in town. And coffee shop, and there's so many things that would like to be there. And I'm very confident at 8 lots. I know it's only half an acre, but it's 8 separate commercial lots. And I've talked to enough people that I feel like I could sell them each for $50,000. I'm very confident of that. 8 lots at $50,000 each is $400,000 for me. That's how I came up with the 480. I said the building's worth 80 on top of that. I might be wrong, but if I'm off by, say I'm off by 20%, I can only get $40,000 each. 8 lots at $40,000 is still $320,000. And I just know I can sell them for that. And that's, if I'm wrong, I'm wrong, but I feel very confident of that. So I feel like I'm doing the city a pretty good favor at 250. And I just think, I think every time I went through your underpasses, I sold it to you any cheaper than 250. I feel like an idiot. So I just can't do that to my kids. I can't take that money out of their, out of their pockets when I feel like. And I understand from your perspective, it's an old building on a half an acre that nobody's used for years and years and years, and I can see it from that perspective, and I understand, and I appreciate as a taxpayer, I appreciate your strong desire to not waste any money that you don't have to. I really do appreciate that, but I'm a visionary. I develop. That's what I do. I love it, and when I see it, I see a bright future for the property. So no, 250s is the best I would do.
Great.
Thank
Thank you very much. Okay, thank you for telling us that.
Yeah.
Can we make a motion?
The commission is ready and willing to make a motion.
Okay, I make a move on, a motion that we approve the
City manager to
city
sign
manager to sign the contract.
the closing documents. You want that? Motion by Friedman,
I'll second.
second by Holtman. All right, further discussion, questions, clarifications, or public comment? Or shall we just move to the vote? Public comment. Commission comment. Oh,
Chairperson Bennett,
yes.
Commissioner Holman,
Yes.
Commissioner Friedman.
Yes.
Commissioner Schwartz,
Yes.
Commissioner Sandberg,
No.
Motion passes. Next action item is discuss, approve, deny election of Livingston City Commission chairperson and vice chairperson. So this again is a forum in which we take nominations. So we'll take nominations for the floor. So first of all, nominations for chairperson.
I'll make a motion, we keep things just the way they are. James Bennett, chairman. Commissioner Hogan was vice chair. And we'll keep the same arrangement.
Other motions on the floor?
I'll second that.
There's a motion and a second. Further nominations on the floor? Okay, only hearing one nomination with a motion and a second. May we have roll call?
Chairperson Bennett,
Yes.
Commissioner Holman,
Yes.
Commissioner Friedman,
Yes.
Commissioner Schwartz,
Yes.
Commissioner Sandberg,
Yes.
Okay, motion passes. Our next discussion item is let's discuss, approve, deny chairperson's appointment of city commissioners to advisory boards and commissions. Now, that's what it says in our ordinances. There are certain committees that the chairperson is supposed to select and the commission to approve. But what we have traditionally done it here is that we discuss each committee and find out who's interested in being on what committee. So we do have a list. Did everyone get the list of committees? Okay. So, and Mr. Coate, if you just follow us with this, I'd appreciate it. Ms. Lilly, just to make sure that we are, when I see these as being vacant, are they vacant from needing an appointment from the community or vacant needing an appointment from the commission?
Vacant from the commission.
So these are different committees that the commission needs to be on these.
Correct.
Do we actually have a seat on the urban renewal? I thought that was purely, according to urban renewal statutes. One of the commissions sits on that one.
Has to or may? May I comment?
Yes.
In addition to that, the urban renewal has requested that a commissioner has consequences.
Did everyone hear that?
No.
There you go.
Oh, what she said was that the urban renewal has requested that a commissioner sit at the meetings as well. Wait, can you wait on that one until we get to that? You want to comment on the urban renewal, right? Okay. Okay, so I was just clarifying that because that was new that we haven't seen this.
James, can I ask clarification on vacancy too then?
Of the what?
To piggyback on your vacancy question?
Sure.
The fact that with all these vacant, does that mean the commission has never assigned persons to these boards? Is that why they're vacant now?
I do not know if they have never been filled. I just know they are currently not filled. I don't know what date. All of these committees have different dates in which, different cycles in which they appoint. So I don't know how long each of these has been vacant.
And I guess my follow-up question is if obviously not all times will work for all commissioners. So what happens if you can't find a commissioner that can meet the timeline of a specific board and so the position remains vacant?
So with the urban renewal agency, each one of those boards should have their own bylaws that would account for that contingency in the event that you couldn't fill it with a commissioner. I'm not familiar with the bylaws of each and every one of these vacancies or these boards on which there's a vacancy. But I would hope that there's an avenue in those bylaws to fill that seat if the commissioner can't sit on it. I'm not certain. But I would imagine the bylaws call for that situation, how to remedy it.
I don't, on some of these boards, I don't ever remember us having a seat on those boards.
Yeah.
Library board,
Yeah, we never,
historical preservation
we
board.
never talked about that. It's a good idea.
I mean, I don't have any problem with the idea, it's just that we haven't done it before.
Did you come up with this list?
I came up with this list per what the website has currently, and
Okay.
it may not be completely accurate either. And I put vacant on some of these boards. I was not able to go through all the bylaws in each of these, and we don't actually have bylaws for each of these committees. But if there was no commissioner sitting on,
You
had
put
a
a
seat,
vacant
then I
spot.
put vacant.
Okay, okay.
And it specifies the commissioners. See,
No, it didn't necessarily specify that it was.
Okay. All right. Because I think some of these vacant ones, I don't remember having a commissioner sit on these.
So why don't we just handle it this way? The ones that you know you've been, that have had a commissioner in the past, we'll do those. I'll do the research to see if the other ones require a commissioner, and we can come back and take those up at the next meeting.
Okay. But you are saying that the urban renewal has requested.
I think it's a good idea.
Okay. Patricia, you want to comment on the urban renewal?
Yes, please. You can understand the urban renewal's board frustration in trying to get someone on the board, because that seat has been vacant for some time. When I was on the commission, I wanted to be on the urban renewal board. And the city attorney told me I could not. And so I went, I attended all the meetings as an observer, but I was never allowed to vote on the board. So that was challenged legally when I was on the commission. And the decision was made that legally I would not be able to be on the board. I did make the decision that if I was not appointed to the city commission tonight, that I would love to apply to be on the urban renewal board. So there, we have one applicant to fill that spot of the urban renewal board, and I just talked to the city manager, and I will get the application in tomorrow morning. But it has been challenged. Bruce Becker made that decision on that, and so whatever legal grounds he found.
Do you remember his reasoning? Was that conflict of interest of some sort?
There was a conflict within the bylaws of urban renewal, and the city commissioner could not be on the board. And there never has been, in the last 16 years, or ever since urban renewal began, there's never been a city commissioner on that board.
Great, thank you very much, Patricia.
Yeah,
Appreciate
I'm
that.
very happy to apply for that position.
All right, so in my mind, I think there's a question on, first of all, on the Board of Appeals. Jim, don't you sit on that?
Does it just say Board of Appeals or does it say Board of Adjustment?
Well, there's two different committees, Board of Appeals and
is
Board,
for building code, and that does not have a city commissioner. So
that's the Board of Appeals?
correct.
Okay,
Board of Adjustments, same, those are volunteer citizens.
okay,
That's because they actually, they're a quasi judicial board that the city commission is separate from. Okay.
I seem to remember my first year that Steve Caldwell and Bill Stanley were on the Board of Adjustment. You like?
Planning board, actually.
That was the planning board, okay, all right, thank you very much.
And then while you're there, the Historic Preservation Board never had a city commissioner.
It is not, in fact, by ordinance, it's got a specific membership that doesn't include city.
Right, yeah, okay.
Okay,
Cross that one off.
all right. All right, the job's getting a little easier now. Okay.
That was great.
I was dividing those up and going, wow, that's gonna be something. Yeah. All right, so why don't we start with the tree board, meets as necessary, third Friday afternoon, third Friday every month?
Yeah.
Okay, and Commissioner Friedman, you're on that presently?
Yeah, I'll just stay there.
And you'd like to stay there? Is there, we
Sounds
can
good
have
to me.
up to two commissioners on a board. So, is there anyone else who'd like to be on the tree board? Are you looking to have more of a motion?
I'm just happy Mel wants to keep doing it. I'm all in favor of that.
Okay. Okay, so, Mel Friedman for the tree board. No objections?
No objection.
Okay. That's A-okay. Okay, next, we have Parks and Trails Committee, meets fourth Wednesday every month at 6:30 p.m. Commissioner Hoagland is on that commission, on that committee. Do you still want to be on that committee?
Yes, please.
Okay.
And Mike, maybe might have to give us some feedback on it too, but I recall that we talked a lot about this in the past, that there doesn't have to be two commissioners on.
Right.
Even though there were two commissioners. And really, Adam was, he was the treasurer or the secretary, but yet he wasn't really officially a commission member. So that makes it look like there's two commissioners. But there doesn't have to be.
All right, so we don't want another commissioner on there.
Well, I'm just saying you don't have to.
Okay. All right, so any objections? Okay. The next one, we're making good progress. Okay, Commissioner Hoagland on Parks and Trail, historical, no. Library board, I'm assuming it's the same thing.
It's a no.
That's a no?
Yeah, and that's when we council research,
Okay, good.
bring back if we need to, or update you.
Okay, skate park, this is the one I have some question on for myself. Is that did that committee meet with you on Monday?
Yes.
The Derek?
Yes.
Yes,
I
that
did.
committee met with Shannon Holmes, I believe, Matt, and Melody Montgomery.
Okay. Well, I'm interested in finding out, did they indicate at all, I know that they have a nonprofit status now for their fundraising for their permanent skate park. Did they mention anything about being separate from the city?
As I was not able to attend that meeting, I'll ask Mr. Holmes to step up.
Unfortunately, we didn't talk about the nonprofit's status in a lot of detail. There were more discussions on the actual location and construction requirements for moving forward with doing that. So I apologize, but I know Derek did say that they have their status now, the 301, and there was no mention that the city would be the partnership on that. But, that's all I
Okay.
know.
Well, I'll try to clarify that for the next meeting then. And is there anyone who wants to volunteer for the skate park? Like me.
We trust you.
I'm not sure. Wow, what a vote of confidence. Okay,
My skate park things are.
your skate park days are over, okay.
Give it up last year.
Okay, moving on, no urban renewal, no airport board for sure. Okay, Mel, you're on the city county building maintenance.
Yeah,
True.
You guys ever meet?
we did once, about 2 years ago. I'll stay right there.
I want to see.
That's a good one to be honest.
Oh, so you want to volunteer for that? Kind of take Mel off and someone else want to volunteer?
What
for
it
that?
was, I advised the county on maintenance of the building, since that was my field. So I worked with the county commissioner on that. I'm available for that.
All right, does anyone want to do the health board?
Do you not?
I'm looking to,
Yeah, why don't you mention if ones you don't want to do or looking to.
yeah, I don't want to do that one. What I'm really interested in is not that I need to spend more time with another city commissioner. I'm interested in being on the planning board this time. I've never been on the planning board.
What's the health board?
You can still be on. Two people. The health board meets
Meets every 3 months. I'll
every
take you
3
lunch.
months, second Tuesday at 7 p.m. And they basically go over health issues, sanitation issues, not only within the city, but in the county. You vote on issues, whether someone's going to get a septic system or, what a fine might be for a violation of sanitation codes. We also talk about the animal control.
I'll
What
relieve
time-
you of your duties.
Okay,
I'll have to mention it.
all right.
That's all about the septic tanks. That's what got me.
I know that really perked you up. I saw you got real excited about it. Okay. All right, planning board, Mr. Hoagland, I'm assuming you'd like to stay there?
Yes.
Okay, Jim?
There's a question on the membership of the planning board that I need to have the city attorney research. We've had in the past 2 commissioners on there. The state statute is specific to one, at least in my reading.
Okay.
So that may be overturned by Mr. Coates' legal research, but I would urge you to hold off until we get to the answer.
Okay. We'll be doing okay.
And the time has changed on that. So FYI, it's at 5
All right.
On Wednesday.
on Wednesday. On that
Thank you, Jim.
Yes.
third Wednesday, yeah.
Yeah.
That's correct.
All right, moving on. Commissioner Schwartz.
Communications?
I haven't seen you on any board yet, so
I'll do communication.
okay, that's a good one because it never meets.
Yeah, just monthly and there's no time or date. That's right.
Okay, emergency medical services, that's another one that doesn't meet that often, does it now?
Absolutely not. Okay. But I'm available.
It's the deal, okay. Okay. Just moving on, Urban Transportation Committee, Mr. Bennett and Reddington was on it. I like that one, that's a good one. Anyone want to be on it too? Huh?
What is it?
We meet quarterly with MDOT, people who just gave us the bombshell. And they talks about all the different street and sidewalk and bridges, projects going on in Livingston and Park County. And so you get an update, underpass. You know all about it. Well, I'll stay on that one, that was a good one.
I'd like to be on it, but the time's going up.
Yeah, it's kind of a strange time in the middle of the day.
I could do that.
Want to
I
do
would
that
do
one as
that.
well? Okay. Okay, and Sister City, we know that Commissioner Friedman will want to stay on that committee. He loves that one.
That's a good one.
That's a good one. Okay. Does anyone else want to be on that with them?
I would.
You would, okay? So, are you sure this is all the committees? This is it?
We're done in the
Seems
other-
like one.
Lisa,
No.
I've asked the question, I guess Melody's here. We used to sit on a grant meeting. I just wonder if that's gonna resurrect again.
It will certainly resurrect probably in the next quarter.
Grant Meetings Committee. Is there statute that there only can be one city commission on that one?
Used to be two of us.
I don't believe so, no, you're welcome to.
Well, let me know. Okay, so let's add this up. We're doing pretty good. Mr. Friedman has 1, 2, 3, 4. You can handle those 4?
Absolutely.
We already went through this. Good.
Okay. All right. Who's your patient?
Call for question. Is that Robert's rules of order?
We have no question after the call. And you're okay with being on the committees you are, just 2 right now? That'd be good. Good start for you. Same with you, Commissioner Schwartz?
Yes.
Okay. All right, we're done. Okay, moving on to action item D. Oh, this is easy. Okay, everyone stand up. Everyone like where you're sitting?
That was very nice.
Okay. We don't need a motion. We'll move with that. Okay. City manager comments.
We have one more.
We have.
Oh, you speak to, thank you for the reminder. Here we go. We do. Action item E, addendum. Discuss, approve, deny appointment of Jim Maston as interim fire chief at Livingston Fire and Rescue beginning February 16, 2016, and ending when permanent chief assumes duties. Ms. Lloyd?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. As most of you are aware, Chief Kaufman has tendered his resignation to relocate back to Virginia, thus creating an interim vacancy while we fill for the permanent fire chief position. Jim Maston, who is a longtime former fire chief of Livingston Fire Rescue and also served as an interim public works director for us prior to Shannon Holmes joining, has graciously agreed to come back and be our interim fire chief. Beginning February 16th, he will actually be boots on the ground here March 7th if you approve the interim appointment. EMS Director Captain Kevin Harrington will be serving as a command and tactical, operational and tactical command for that interim period with Chief Maston's advice. until the chief is actually here again if you approve. So I will be requesting a special session for purposes of appointing the new fire chief to begin on June 1. I'll request that meeting to be immediately prior to our next city commission meeting on the 16th to give you all an opportunity to meet him and meet the statutory requirement, which requires that a commission vote approve the permanent fire chief. Thank you.
Any other points of clarification from the commission? Public comment? Hearing none. Is there a motion?
I make a motion we approve the assignment of Jim Maston, interim fire chief.
Second.
Okay, motion by Freeman, second by Holden. Roll call.
Chairperson Bennett?
Yes.
Commissioner Holden?
Yes.
Commissioner Freeman?
Yes.
Commissioner Schwartz?
Yes.
Commissioner Sandberg?
Yes.
Motion passes. City manager comments.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just to piggyback off the prior action item, I'd like to offer my deepest thanks to Chief Kaufman for his service. We are certainly going to miss him deeply in this community. So thank you, Chief. And that's it for me. Thank you.
Very much. Thank you very much. All right, city commission comments. Commissioner Sandberg.
Update on the city manager search and where we are on that?
Sure. I received probably 10 applications on Sunday, which was the deadline. I believe not running the last minute. I believe that brings the count somewhere in the low 60s for applications actually received. I sent out a communication. My plan is to actually work from home on Thursday to prepare packets for all of you with the candidates that meet the minimum qualifications in the interest of sparing numerous trees in the rainforest. I will keep a full copy of all applicants available for anyone's review, but probably will not forward each of you individualized packets that include folks that don't meet the basic requirements. We did have one applicant who I would consider an exceptional applicant from California who opted to bow out because of the statutory requirement that the city manager reside within the immediate city limits of Livingston. He and his wife already own property down off of Mill Creek. So still within Livingston, but not within the city limits. And that ordinance would prevent him from being the city manager as it currently stands. So he did opt to bow out and would have been, I think, probably a leading, if not the lead candidate. So just to make the folks aware of certain things that have come up in consideration in the process.
And so what's the timeline then? So we will receive those applicants and then what happens?
Then it will be up to the 5 of you to determine who you would like to do initial interviews with. Generally speaking, we've done phone interviews for leadership team members. That would be with 1 or 2 of you. Unless we did it in a special session. But, I mean, we could do it in a special session as well. Agreed upon questions, criteria, do an initial phone interview, then from that initial cut, make a finalist, recommendations around who finalists would be, and then we would begin the process of bringing them here for an in-person interview with all of you. At this point, there are no local applicants that are qualified. So there will be travel expense, hotel travel, car rental, all of that for any of the applicants that we decide to move forward with.
And an estimated amount of time do you think that the commission can accomplish this?
That is really a
Couple months or?
I mean, I would say to have a finalist decision when you count an initial interview process, coordinating schedules to bring people here, travel arrangements, all of, your schedules. I would say probably 2 to 3 months is realistic for having someone have an offer and accept. And then we would be just knowing what the pool looks like right now, we would be looking at a relocation. So I think we're realistically 3 to 4, if not 5 months out, to have it completely finalized with a person in the chair.
Okay, thank you. Just kind of thinking about that one applicant. How what's the, not promoting or suggesting that we do this, but just trying to understand how those type of criteria change. What would be the process to have that language changed?
You would need to amend the ordinance.
Okay.
To, to whatever limitation you would like to provide, whether that be within a certain mile amount of the city limits.
Is there a mile amount now?
No, it is within the city
There
limits.
was the time, like this,
It's not time for, the city manager by ordinance must reside within the city limits themselves. Our EMS and fire and police personnel, the requirement is 15 to 20 minutes depending on weather. So they can live in the valley provided they can be here within 15 to 20 minutes in this building.
So a county commissioner like Steve Fogel lives in the city to be a county. They goes by precincts or districts or something.
Well, he lives in the county.
City's part of the county.
Yeah, he lives in the district, but he represents the county district.
Yeah, within the city.
Yeah, but it's part of the county.
And then just a couple other things. I'm just curious, none of, well, 2 of these not pressing issues, but if perhaps we could at a future meeting have a 10 or 15-minute presentation on one of the issues would be the Sister City program and what exactly the city's role is and how it supports the program. I don't believe we really provide any funding. Has that been discussed before? But just it's a very important program. And I would just like to see outline what the city's participation is and maybe some ideas of what we could do to perhaps enhance that. Sure.
Chairman Bennett has requested that each of the committees provide updates to the commission on a cyclical basis. I could certainly arrange for Sister Cities to be one of the first in that process.
Right. And then I know that we have a new grant writer who I had the pleasure of meeting over the holidays. And I was just curious if at some point in our packets or in a presentation, it doesn't matter, just a informational of what grant, what projects she happens to be working on, what grants she may be working on. Could be similar just to like the report the police chief provides of,
certainly,
just so we have an idea of where the direction is headed, looking for funds.
Sure. Prior to my appointment as the interim city manager, the AST team did provide a monthly report. That's something that hasn't been on my radar in the last few months, so
Sure.
we can certainly get that report reinstated and back to the commission in a presentation at a future meeting, probably the first meeting in March, if that would be satisfactory.
Whatever the rest of the commission thinks. I do know we're going to be coming up against asking the public for a lot of money, and it would be a good opportunity to start looking to see what's available out there.
Certainly.
And then my last one is more just of a question. not having been through the budget process before, do we do a budget workshop at all? Oh, do we?
Yes. We do many. And it is a long, very detail oriented process. We begin with the CIP, capital improvement budget. Once we have that finalized, we're in the last stages of that currently. And then we go over the entire budget in its entirety after the capital piece. So there are many meetings to come.
And so are those meetings commissioners are attending?
Commissioners and open to the public.
Okay. And just what time are those usually scheduled in the evening?
They are in the evening.
Okay. Great. Thank you very much.
Mr. Sports?
Thank you for the trust that you placed with me and voting me on the commission. It's an honor, and I look forward to serving you and the city of Livingston. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Mr. Friesen?
Are we meeting with the county tomorrow?
No, that meeting was postponed due to, I believe, two of the county commissioners are away. So it was postponed to the 10th.
The 10th.
Same time.
Same time, same place, just
Thank you. That's all I have. Thank you.
Commissioner Copeland?
I know we have talked about this before, and I feel like I'm still waiting for the answers, and I know it was transitional, so I want to state it again, and that is how the question about how we are following through or practicing fair treatment of ordinances and how we treat community when it comes to ordinances or breaking an ordinance. I would like that to be updated, and I know it's part of something I was going to talk to you more about one-on-one. But I would like to be able to bring some information either here to the commission or have you guys bring it to us.
I think we're scheduled to get together Friday, so we could go through that in some more detail and develop a plan for what we bring to the commission.
Okay. All right. And then the second part is, as someone on the planning board, we have been working since I got onto the board. We've worked pretty much every meeting on our growth policy. On occasion, we work on things in addition to it, but we are way behind the process, and I just want to update the community and that it's been a struggle because it's, a volunteer board making decisions or writing a document that is pretty intense, as we all know. And so we're working hard on it, and we have some plans to bring to the community and to the commission on how to deal with it in the future. And I just wanted to actually state that for the planning board and for the community that we're working. The growth policy is an important part of our community, and having a good one is extremely important. And we're working towards it. But like I said, it's a volunteer board struggling to get it done. So we hope to have some options coming up. Welcome, Quentin, to our
Are you considering growth policy discussion for the city?
yeah, well, we're rewriting the growth
Oh, yeah,
policy.
really?
Yeah.
Okay.
We're adding to it.
And that will be a public, sometimes public input.
Yeah, well, then you got, and then this will be brought to the commission in its entirety when it's done. Want to welcome Quentin to our ranks. And I did have a question on the, but Sarah asked a question on the hiring process. So the hope is for the city manager is to have us review a number of applicants and then try
Try to reduce.
reduce, but us doing that as well with you.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
That would be my preference. This is your hire. So
I just wanted to make sure I was clear on that. Because I wasn't sure if you were like with the fire chief, how we have one person come to us.
Mm-hmm.
This is a bigger process.
yes, much.
All right.
Let's figure it.
Yes, that's
Plus, it is the one person that we hired. So, I'm sorry, did I miss a date when you thought you might have those to us? Was this like next meeting? Is that what you're thinking?
My goal is to go through all of the applicants, rank them, select a top 15, top 10, and have packets to all of you probably in advance of the next meeting for your review.
Thank you.
And if we're going to discuss and review those applicants, at this point, there's still an expectation of privacy for these folks who have applied. I have no way of determining if they have let current employers know that they're searching. Some have specifically said, do not call my current employer. So if we want to have a sit down with an exchange of ideas about those and discussion about those applicants, we can do that in an executive session.
Great. Thank you very much.
Will we have that discussion at the regular meeting, or will we have a special meeting just to discuss applicants? I'm thinking of length of time is where I'm coming from.
I would suggest a separate meeting. We'll be discussing the fire chief early before the next meeting, so I would say just in deference to everything going on, probably a separate meeting would be best. And we can certainly work that around all of your schedules anyway.
Just as something to put on your calendars, February 24th. If you don't have it, that's the date for the city and the county getting together and reviewing and listening to the presentations from all our partners who provide us with economic development services to the city of Livingston and to Park County. And that would include the Northern Rockies Economic Development District, Prospera, MSU Extension, and I believe that maybe there's the job services maybe presented too, but at least those three.
Time?
I believe that's at 5 o'clock. Do you remember, Lisa?
Is that
Is that the Shane? Is that the one of the Shane?
Yes.
I think it's at 4 or 5.
No, I don't think it's at 4. I think it's at.
Well, there's like a meet and greet or
We
something.
got an update today, but the time was wrong.
We can I can confirm that and email that out
Okay.
to everyone tomorrow.
It was 6:30 with the update, and then it said, attention, big letters. Time is incorrect.
We'll confirm for sure and get that to you.
But it is the 24th. So I think as many commissioners can be there as possible would be great, because what one of our goals is to make sure that those groups are working well together, so that we're not stumbling or stepping on anyone's feet, and that their strengths are being, worked with well with the city, and any projects that they have that they might work synergistic with, we want to make sure they do, so that prospects and any other economic development programs or activities that we do in the city are well working. That's the problem.
Mr. Chair?
Yes, ma'am.
When I get that information out to you, if you all could confirm to me whether or not you are planning on attending, because if more than 2 of you are attending, I need to publicly notice that on your behalf. Thank you.
I think you can publicly announce it anyway. I think
Okay.
so, yeah, please do. So again, I want to thank the staff and administration for doing a great job with keeping the city going, the city running in all of our intern situations. And so just, I think the commission really appreciates that. So thank you very much. Thank you, Quentin, for applying and getting selected. I hope you had a little bit of fun tonight. And I think that's it. Is there any public comment? Yes.
Tricia Crable, 204 East Gallagher Street. First of all, I want to thank you for the fairness and the way you handled the interviews for the city manager position. Thank you very much for considering me and my family's probably very happy that you did not choose me. I want to admonish you as you move forward, having been through the selection of a city manager before. There are a couple of things that we learned that I think are very important to emphasize and emphasize. Number one, if in the first round of interviews you don't find the person that you feel completely comfortable with, then go to a second round. It's not that hard. It is worth it, and the time you spend is going to benefit the community. Number two, and I cannot say this enough, get a professional person to do the vetting of the candidates. Because anybody can apply and they can say, I've had this job and that was wonderful and things are hunky-dunky. And in fact, they may not be so. And professional vetters are the ones that can screen it. It is not, gratefully, we have such a wonderful leadership team, but it is not the leadership team that can vet these people. People who are professional in this area know what to look for. And so please consider it's not that much more to hire someone, a professional, to do the vetting of your final candidates. Number three, it is very important. Now, when we selected the city manager before, we didn't have a leadership team, but it is almost a conflict of interest for a leadership team to do this final screening or to be the group that makes any decisions on city manager. It is you. You are the ones who should be doing all the final interviews. There should be nobody who is not present at those final interviews. It is your decision. And so it is not something you can delegate to anybody else because there is a conflict of interest. If you do, you're the ones. So it is an encouragement that I have that when it comes to screening, it may take more time, it may take more noticed meetings, but it is to this community's advantage for you to be the ones who do all the screening, who do all the interviewing, not the initial whether or not they're qualified, but beyond whether or not they're qualified, it is up to you to make those decisions. And it is in our community, I think, for best interest to do so. So I just wanted to say what we learned, and especially don't be afraid of extending it a couple months, or don't be afraid of going back out. So I just think it's really such an important decision. It could be a decision you make the last 9 years. So at this end of the line, those three things I think are critical. Thank you so much, and thank you for your consideration.
Thank you, Patricia. Other public comment? Other public comment? Seeing none, I would entertain a motion from the commission for adjournment.
So moved.
Is there a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion is adjourned for the commission. We, blah, blah, blah.
All motions
This meeting
adjourned.
is adjourned at 8:52.
Hey, Liz. That's a cool story on the front page. Yeah.
Hey, Liz. Liz.
Here, one, Eric.
There's this guy. So is that a quorum? Yes. It's not talking about. So you're both. No, you can't. I mean, so yeah, 3 of them is. Just so it doesn't look that way. No, you're right.